All
Perfect,
right,
perfect,
here we go.
perfect.
Timmy, welcome back, man.
Yes, sir.
Uh, how's things with you so far? Since last time, you know?
Oh man, it's amazing. Like I was just saying, I appreciate being here. Since last time, I think my haircut's different, my outfit's a little different, but I'm different too. But working, putting out music, going to work, grinding, doing what you do, living in the pandemic, but still remaining solid. So yeah, we're just living life, living the dream, and I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know what you mean, and since last time, you've dropped more songs lately, "Lonelier Times,"
Yeah.
Amali Licha,
Oh
Omo,
man.
the Code, and
Yeah.
recently On the Go. I want to talk about like On the Go first, since that is
Hmm.
like your latest like single and all that.
Yes.
So what was like the creative process like for that song, and like what was like the main inspiration for making it?
Well, honestly, I'll tell you the truth. Since the pandemic started, ever since kind of like I turned 24 last year, 1st of August, I've been having more time to myself to actually sit down and craft like better lyrics. But with a song like On the Go, like the lyrics, I'm gonna spit it. The lyrics like I've been falling in and out of love. I be trying to figure out what's up. I've been trying to think of what to say. It's what I gotta do. Yeah, like, so I'm just kind of like talking that real shit, like falling in and out of love, relationships, maybe that before the pandemic we looked a little different and now they look different. So all those kind of things, I'm inspired by them. And I just put it together and, turn it to music. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's just for one song. Yeah.
yeah. And I guess I know like I don't know if like the song was like intended for like a different like audience at the time too, or if it was like something that could be relatable to like other groups, like in that sense, like it could like relate to like anybody like listening to it in that sense.
Um, you know what? Most of the times, I don't want to sound selfish, but as you grow as an artist, most of the times I write these songs for myself based on how I'm feeling, and hopefully, it does relate to somebody out there and what they're going through. But I never set out um, to like target a particular audience. I do set out to like target a sound, like a bop. So even on a song like On the Go, if you listen to the rap verse, it's like I'm talking to like a girl. I know you want to live a fairy tale, but you don't want to see the real life. So when you told me that you love me, I couldn't tell you what it feels like. So that's just like, talking from a space of like, not being able to accept the love fully just because of where you are at some point. So, you know, these songs are super personal, and it's even a pleasure having someone like you ask me about them. But most of the time, I write them from a private, personal space, and if they connect, they connect. But yo, I want to tell you something about one of my songs, "Lonely at Times." I don't know if you've heard it, but I'm pretty sure you've heard it because you do amazing research. So the other day I was on my phone, my DMs, and like some guy in like Iran tells me that he's listened to Lonelier Times about like 200 times. I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy. But when I listen back to the lyrics of the song, that's one of the songs that many of my friends, immediately I dropped the hit me like, yo, like it sounds like you're talking to me, right? And like that kind of shit. So, you get that sometimes. Some other songs are just straight up vibes, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, no doubt. I definitely like I actually didn't like listen to it yet, but I would have to like check it out soon. But I think since last time we talked about like the whole like certified like lover boy type debacle and like what can
Yeah.
be expected for it. I know that there's gonna be like a heavy debate towards CLB versus Donda. So like what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that debacle, and what do you, in your opinion, what do you feel is like the better album like in that sense?
Oh man, that's a packed question. But I guess before I start, let me just say, like, give a public disclaimer to both fan bases. I hold no personal obligation to either of these artists. They're both amazing, right? Now, with that out the way, I would say the more complete album, the album that checks all the check boxes, I'll give that to Donda for sure. But in terms of rap performance and the artist that's actually like going on the mic and executing, I'll give that to Certified Lover Boy. But your question was the better album, and I'd say Donda, man. I'd say Donda. I'd like to know your opinion because I don't want to get into why I say Donda, but I'd also like to What do you think? I prefer Donda.
Yeah. For me, actually, in my opinion, I actually didn't listen to both of these albums, but I've heard it like in a distance from that sense. And if we're talking about the kids, we're talking about like what gets played the most, like what gets played like in these cars like nowadays too, like like reachability and all that, who has more
Yeah.
access to it. It's Certified Lover Boy, like people are playing like way too sexy like in their cars like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
like people like like Future actually dropped like one of the like best hooks on that song too, too
Yes.
sexy for your love, too sexy for your girl, like all that type of stuff too. And
Uh-huh.
you could
Yeah.
tell like that's like one of the most catchiest hooks like right now in this quarter. Like if we're talking about like music quarters, like Q4, which is like September to December, that
Yes.
hook like alone like is like the standout hook. Like
Of
for
course.
Donda, like you're not gonna get like a lot of hits, but you're gonna get songs that have a relatable like field in that sense too, that
Can
talk a
I can
lot
I
of.
interrupt for a second? Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I think when DJ Khaled looks in the mirror, who he thinks he is what Kanye was able to accomplish with Donda. I'm not even trying to like even bust jokes here or anything. Like if you think about Donda and like you think of the rollouts, right? This is live music. He's playing this music. He's using the crowd as his A&R. So the rollout for Donda, I think, is something that in the music industry we haven't really seen much of. Artists playing songs that aren't really that completed, but polishing it as it goes. Then we get to the title Donda. The songs match the emotion of the songs. It's heavy. Some of them are dark. He's talking about his mom that just passed. With Certified Lover Boy, it's sweet, but I never got where the songs match into the idea of Certified Lover Boy. It's almost like we got this Drake before, but this Drake just has a kid now, in a sense. And I'm not criticizing. I believe Drake's rapping on Certified Lover Boy on songs like 7 a.m. on Bridal Path, man, Kanye can't touch that. It's over. But like in terms of like whole album, I'll stick with Donda this time.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean too. I think in terms of like marketing, like like Kanye like marketed like Donda like so crazy with these like pop-up shows. You have like two at like the Mercedes like Benz like stadium in Atlanta, the one arena like in Chicago. Like he brought out like multiple people out. Like
Yeah.
there was like a lot of like controversies on what happened. Like a photographer, snuck in to shoot like photos of Kanye, and like that was like one of the biggest debacles too. There was like
Yes.
also like issues with artist cuts, being on or off the project. Like you hear people like Chris Brown being taken off of like New Day
Mhm.
by like Kanye. You hear that the baby was like taking away like off Donda, like, and then you
Yeah.
have like other additions that come by as well too. Whereas like in Certified Lover Boy, you don't really get as much promo. Like you would have expected it like sometime like earlier on. I mean, the billboards were like very like dope too, like they were like very okay, but it
Yeah.
wasn't at a level where like there
Drake
was
should
like
be.
a lot of like fan interaction, as with Kanye's like Donda like rollout like at these like stadiums and all that. And there's
Yeah.
actually like an interesting trend on Instagram lately where Kanye was like following like every person or a fan who had like the Donda like album cover like as their like PFP and all that like on
Oh
Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn. I
And
didn't know about that.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
actually this one photographer that I know, his name's Connor Gibson. Like he actually got like Kanye actually like followed him after he did the entire thing. He did like one random post where like it's an honor for Kanye to follow me. Like I've been like a fan like since like a long time and all that. And you know, it's interesting that you see people like I actually checked it out too. It's actually like real. He actually followed like Connor, and
Yeah.
it was like very like interesting in that sense too, because like it really showed that like Kanye was like for the people, like for his fans, like in that like very moment too. And it was also
Yes.
at a moment where he was in a breakup with Kim for a bit. Like they had
Mhm.
like a hiatus. Like he was dating this other girl. It didn't work out for a bit, and then there
Yes.
were like speculations that Kanye might go back to Kim too. And
And
that's what
even the collaborations, like if you think about the collaborations, The Weeknd, Lil Baby, he's featuring people like look at this guy. It's like going to work out with like LeBron. Fabio is spinning the best verse of his life. So like I really look at Donda as like a compilation album. You know what I think? And I don't know how deep into music you are, but I trust that you are. I believe Kanye is Quincy Jones and Drake is Michael Jackson, and they need to do this. Like I really believe, like, no shade, respect to OVO 40, but I think OVO 40 has done the most he can do for Drake. It's time for somebody else to kind of like, okay, let's see what the next 10 years look like. And I think that kind of mind is gonna come from Kanye. I believe it'll happen, but it's just sad that it's gonna be too late. That's all. Yeah.
I do definitely agree in that sense too, but I do feel that there is like some bad blood like within that situation,
True.
even in regards to the Pusha T situation where, the story of Added On, like that was like released a while back too.
Yeah.
His other album that was like released like in 2018, like when Kanye was producing like his artists like albums and all that, it would be like 6 or 7 tracks. Pusha T was like one of them and all that, and like he had a couple of Drake diss tracks and all that, and
Yes.
even the situation where his son was exposed, like Drake's son was exposed, and
Yeah.
the whole thing at Danforth Music Hall. So what happened like a while back in 2018 was like Pusha T had a show at the Danforth Music Hall, which is actually like a live venue like in Toronto, like in the East End, and
Okay.
so there was like some people like who were speculated to be like Drake fans, and then they started throwing like beer can bottles like at Pusha
Oh
T,
man.
like when he was performing, and like it got into like a crazy altercation. Pusha T did like 2 songs like later on, and then like dipped, and then I think someone from Pusha T's camp actually either stabbed one of the guys that threw the bottles or did something to them, because like there was like speculation that someone actually got stabbed. So I don't know, like I don't know if that's like the actual details. Like that's what I've read from the news and from other stuff too. But like
Yeah.
I think even from that too, like because Kanye will ride for Pusha T regardless. Like I don't think that there's gonna be like any truce in that sense too. I do love the competition. Like I do, like in my opinion, I feel like the Kanye and Drake beef is the modern day Jay-Z and Nas, So because like when you think about it, Jay-Z and Nas were beefing like in 2001, with who had the better album, who had the better song, Takeover versus like what was that other song called?
Ether.
Ether, yeah, yeah.
Ether, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ether, and then that was like a crazy roll up between Stillmatic and the Blueprint, like the first actual like Blueprint project, and then
Damn.
you could
Okay.
see that with Donda versus CLBE too, and then you're gonna
Yes.
have like standout tracks that reach out like in similarity, with the Duppy freestyle versus like the story of Added On, or like Trippy's Drake's collab with like Trippy Red versus like okay. So you do
Yes.
see like a lot of like similarities in that sense too. And this is actually another theory, because this was like, I'm assuming it's like a 20-year-old like distance, because the
Yeah.
Jay-Z and Nas beef was like in 2001, the Drake and Kanye was this year 2021. So subtract that together, you get like a 20-year battle. So you see like a 20-year like similarity too, like history is like repeating itself in that sense.
It's repeating itself. Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
yeah,
That is crazy. That's for sure. I didn't even know about the whole things that happened in Toronto. I had no idea about that, but that they were definitely some diehard fans, I could tell.
Yeah, there were some diehard fans. I mean, I think like one of the promoters who promoted the event, like in my opinion, I think they might have lost their spot at Danforth, like because like they'll have like certain events like in various areas, like the Phoenix Concert Theater, Mod Club, Velvet Underground, like they'll have like those connections. Like I think they might have lost that connection with Danforth, because I think with Danforth, they don't really have like many rappers performing at that venue. So I think with that, like I think that's like the curtain call to say like, hey, we're not taking any like rappers like in that sense too, because like with
Okay.
Toronto actually there's like a lot of history with venues and like promoters not booking like hip
Tell
hop
me.
act like Toronto based hip hop acts because of speculations of violence or speculations of inappropriate language or gang
Okay.
violence and all that type of stuff too. And it's been evident that rappers in Toronto like had to perform out of town. And I'm not talking about like the Hawaii Mighties or the Just Johns, the Ex Mirandas, or the Tobys, like
Okay.
literal like hood rappers like your Presses, your Smoke Dogs,
I
your
feel
Puffy L's, you know, like they couldn't perform at these venues, or if they were performing at these venues, they were a special guest of the artist that they know personally. So yeah.
yeah. You let me ask you something that like we'll go back to our questions, but I want to know something. What's like the best venue in Toronto, especially for upcoming artists? You know, like where the ex Mirandas will perform because the like I follow these Instagram pages and there's this page they call the Drake Hotel, and I'm not sure. Does Drake have anything to do with that?
Technically, I don't think so.
Okay.
So he does have like an affiliation with this up and coming venue named History, which Live Nation Ontario and Drake's OVO campaign,
Mm.
you know, they funded, you know, for the venue. So, and they're having like upcoming acts to perform there, like Wizkid is actually set to perform there in February. You
No
have,
way.
yeah, he's
Damn.
actually performing there in February. 24K Golden like set to perform like next month.
Shit.
A lot of like rock acts too. Like the lead singer of like Alice in Chains is actually performing there.
Nice.
And a lot. I mean, the Drake Hotel. So basically, there's an interesting story with the Drake Hotel.
Okay.
So I actually work for this company for a bit too to do like photography for some of the events, and they usually host an upcoming event like called the Hustle. So if you follow the Academy Presents, which is a Toronto-based promoter group for up and coming artists that want to perform at certain shows, they host
Okay.
these events called like the Hustle, in which they bring people from all wonders of like Ontario and Canada to perform at the Drake Hotel like every like once a month, you know, and it'll
Oh.
be up and coming artists that they have. So recently
Mm.
they had That Son with a couple of other acts. So That Son's like a Windsor-based producer. In some days from now, they're gonna have another artist named Audrey, who's actually like a well-known Montreal like R&B singer-songwriter that I've actually shot like, you know, years back. She's actually gonna perform there on the 7th actually. So I don't
Okay.
really do like a lot of promoting, but like if you want to get your like tickets, it's actually a virtual event this time.
No,
But
I
they've
don't want to.
had
I don't want to get tickets, bro. They should holler at me. It's time to put 306 on the map, bro. Come on, from
yeah,
Saskatoon,
yeah,
we
yeah,
here. We
yeah,
here.
yeah. I mean, for the people at the Hustle and the Academy Presents, like if you want like a dope artist like at your venue, you know, you gotta hit
Yep.
up my man Timmy, you know. So, but yeah, yo, but
Bless.
a lot of people have blessed the stage there, like at the Drake too. Like the Mod Club, which is now called the Axe Club, unfortunately had like rising acts perform there too. Like the Weekend did his first show at the Mod Club.
The Mod Club. Okay.
Daniel
Okay.
Caesar had his first show at the Mod Club. Jesse Reyes had her first show at the Mod Club, and then
Nice.
Charlotte Day Wilson also had her first show at the Mod Club too. The Drake Hotel, there's like artists like Hawaii Mighty who did her first show there.
Mm-hmm.
Ebony who also did her first show there. They've had the cousin of Sir, whose name is like Tiffany Goucher. She
Okay.
performed either at the Revival Bar or at the Drake Hotel. I don't know which one, but she performed there. Uh, a lot of people like I don't know like what's the name. Like I know like that there's like a lot of like rising acts
Nice.
like from Toronto that have performed there. But yeah, like I'd say
Nice.
those two were like the main venues that most artists like get into like performing in that sense too. So Yeah,
Okay.
like if you like want to settle in Toronto or if you want to like perform like in the first time, definitely like those two depending on your fan base. So yeah.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Bless up for real.
Yeah, no doubt. So I had this other question for the CLB versus Donda debate. So do you
Yeah.
think either one might actually win like a Grammy like next year?
You know what? I think both. You know, the crazy part is because Donda is classified as like a gospel album, and I think it's gonna be under the gospel category. So I do believe Donda is gonna win Gospel Album of the Year. Now, if we now come back into the regular space of hip hop, I believe CLB is in running for Album of the Year. I mean, this year hasn't really had great albums. But I think the album between Lil Durk and Lil Baby, I think that's an underrated album that people aren't speaking about. But I do think CLB should get a nomination. I wouldn't say album of the year, but I think it should get a nomination for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, I know what you mean. I think with Donda, like I know like with gospel, like they do like try to censor out certain words too. So
Yeah.
I know with Donda, like there has been like some cursing like in that sense too. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
spectacle, about like no skeptical. I
Yeah.
apologize.
It's fine.
Yeah, so I'm kind of skeptical that it might win the best gospel album because of the cursing and stuff. So it
Yeah.
might be retracted to like the best rap album. So, but
True.
I do feel like either one might win a Grammy for the best rap album because they released it before before the deadline.
Yes.
But in terms of like who might actually win, I do feel like CLB might have more of a chance. But
Okay.
you also have to think about like the albums that came prior. So
Mm-hmm.
like one of the like because like they also had to do like the ones from like 2020, like late 2020, October, November, December.
Yeah.
One of them would be like Megan Thee Stallion's Good News, which dropped in like November. So and that was like one of
Tyler.
the that was like one of the most like well-known like albums like at that time too. So
Yeah.
in speculation, it might win a Grammy too. You also have Nas, King's Disease 2, which is also like
Ooh.
which is also
Yeah.
like one of my favorite projects too, like for a while, like that and also King's Disease too. So I do feel like Nas might win like another Grammy again in that sense
Mm.
too.
Okay.
I like even like Eminem's like Music to Be Murdered By, like Side B, like even like for adding like those two together, like it
Yeah.
might have like a chance to win a Grammy too. Like I'd say those three and then like CLB and Donda because those are the five albums that reach within like relatability. But if we're talking about like actual skills, actual talent too, you also have to look at like West Side Guns, other
Cole.
projects.
J. Cole. J. Cole. J. Cole.
Yeah, J. Cole, like
Yeah.
with the off season. I do feel like it might have a chance too, but I don't know like if it will reach the same as like a Good News or like a CLB, but
True.
we'll have
Yeah.
to find out too. As far as like the best album, like the album of the year, like you're gonna have like a lot of like competition from other artists, like Olivia Rodrigo, who is like the most streamed and the most
Yeah.
like
I
right
think
like
she
the
made the
top.
driver's license song. Was it her? She had a
Yeah,
song
she did
called
driver's license. I do feel like that project might win like album like of the year. Montero's like also like another debate too, like Lil Nas X. Like you see like
that.
a heavy like rollout for that, like that might have a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
CLB and Donda like kind of like in the same laps too, and then I think maybe I don't think Taylor Swift because like Taylor Swift won album of the year like last year. I do feel I'd say maybe BTS if they had like released an album. Like I do feel like
Oh,
those are
okay. Yeah.
like that's gonna be like another person that we have to like look out for. Billie Eilish, I'm kind of skeptical like about Billie Eilish too because like
Okay.
her album wasn't as big as Olivia Rodrigo's, but I do feel like she is like a Grammy like favorite. Like you see her win like 2 years back. You see her win like last year too. So I do feel like there's gonna be a lot of competition too.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan because of the past allegations, but like Doja Cat might also have like a chance to win too, with Planet
Oh
Her.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Doja Cat. Doja Cat, she's doing some incredible things that I think, like you said, the allegations is not just letting light on she has some amazing melodies that sometimes when I hear it, I'm like, wow, how do you even think of that? But no, I
Yeah,
feel you though. I feel you.
yeah.
I
I'm
feel you.
actually,
But
yeah. Like for me, like sorry about that, but like I'm actually kind of biased with the whole Doja Cat thing. Like I actually used to like her music for a bit too. Like when she had like Juicy, Tia Tamara, like that Amla project too. Like even like with the Hot Pink project too. But when I
okay.
found it out about the whole like chat room allegations too, I was just kind of like, yo, I don't know if I should like listen to Doja Cat anymore. I don't know.
To do here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes, but I do feel I've heard like some good things about like Planet Her. Like I do feel like I should give it a chance too. And hey,
yeah,
who
yeah.
knows, you know? So
Like, I mean, I think it's a personal thing, you know. I would not blame someone that says, "Oh, you fucked up. I'll never listen to your music again." Oh my god, it's a personal thing. It's your Spotify. You can do whatever with it. But I do believe, like, if an artist or if a human, let's even take the word artist, makes a mistake, and you see that they've come out, they've apologized, and they're trying to move forward, I think you can give them a chance. But if they're maybe not willing to accept or trying to deflect it, then you come to your own decision. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like some people might have a chance too. Like even like I've had like second thoughts of who I want to like put on to. Like when Surviving R. Kelly actually dropped, you know, like I used to listen to like R. Kelly like a lot, and then you know after like watching Surviving R. Kelly, you know, I deleted all of his music in that sense too.
That's fair.
Like Tory Lanez, you know, like I've been like a fan of Tory Lanez like since Say It, you
Damn.
know, and like
Rough time.
yeah, Lost in Cause, like the Lost in Cause like mixtape days, and then
Wow.
when there were speculations that he might have shot Tory and he didn't really do anything about it, you know, I kind of had to like stop like, you know, like listening to his music like for the more until you know the
Yeah.
case actually stopped. And that actually kind of hurt me too because I actually used to be like a very big fan of Tory Lanez
Mm.
until like that like whole moment. And you know him like releasing an album, you know, denying all the situations too, like making fun of the situation too, and then
Yeah.
you know having people affiliated to like mock Megan and all that, like you know,
Yeah.
like I just kind of had to suffer a bit too, and that actually kind of hurt me in that sense too, because you know
Mm-hmm.
when you're like a very big fan of an artist too, and they do like something crazy or something wild, you
Yeah.
know, like you can't get that back too. Like that's the same thing for me with this other or like artist named Coda the Friend, who I used to like his music a lot. Like I actually like bought his album like online, and you know
Ooh.
when I found it out that he had like a lot of like rape allegations and all that type of stuff too,
Oh
I
shit.
literally like had to like cancel him, you know, like I can't, like I felt like, hey, you know, I can't erase back some of the stuff too, because even the project that I bought, like my name was like encrypted like in a vinyl piece that he had, because he had this like
Oh.
contest where for the people who bought his music, like his album like online, their name was gonna be on like the vinyl part of the actual like release like by vinyl. And I didn't pick up
Okay.
the vinyl, like unfortunately, but
Oh man.
you know, having your name on there and like seeing that, oh, you supported someone who's now like, you know, accused of rape and all that type of stuff too, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a weird like feeling inside too. So
I respect it. I respect it. I respect it for sure. For sure.
yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
That's
Yeah, so just getting on to like, you know, the music and all this type of stuff going on.
yes, sir.
So we talked about lonelier times, we talked about on the go. I want to talk about Omalicha
On
Omo
Malicha.
Omalicha. All right, yeah, I was just trying to get like the right pronunciation for that. So for
Yeah.
that, Omo and the code, what were
Yes.
the creative like processes for those tracks and what inspired you to like make them in that sense?
Yes. So don't even be hard on yourself. I can't even pronounce On Malicha perfect all the time. But with songs like Oma, which is a clear out Afrobeat song, or maybe some people might call it Afro house songs. These are songs where I'm trying to express more than just being a rapper. I'm trying to express my Nigerian heritage in full. So coming up as an artist, I came up just like most of my peers under guys like Lil Wayne, Drake. It's all the rap, hard shit, you know, bars. But the more you grow, the more you realize that, okay, music is a journey. Besides, even for the audience listening, personally, as an artist, it's a journey. So I try and use songs like Omo, Omalicha to express love, but in my language, in a Yoruba language. So I'm Yoruba. So most of these songs are songs expressing my ethnicity. I'm singing more on them. I'm staying away from the bars and just kind of like having a good time. And I really can't wait to perform these songs. I think they're very vibey and chill. So it's perfect for a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And you talked a lot about like your race, like in that sense, your race, like ethnicity, your heritage. With
Yeah.
the Yoruba like heritage.
Yeah.
I want to talk about transitioning to Canada and the idea of like racism or discrimination. So when you were like in Canada, like from the beginning till now, were
Mhm.
there ever like any experiences in which you dealt with like any discrimination or like racism in that sense?
Yes. Good question. Yes, I'd say not overtly, covertly, and it was kind of like a microaggression. I think there was a time we are in class, and me and my friend were sitting in this like a lecture hall, right? I think it was a physics class, and so the lecture hall descends. So you sit here, and the other people you can see them down there, and if they're on their phone, you can see what they're texting. So I think we see these two guys texting these two guys behind us smell like chicken. I'm like, bro, I didn't eat chicken. And it was funny at that point. I think I could remember at that particular point being hurt, like hurt by it. And those feelings were valid. Those feelings were valid. That was one of the few times where I think I experienced like, I wouldn't call it overt racism that affected any serious decision in my life, but just being judged without you having a say in a sense. So, but I tend not to focus too much on that because even as a human being, I mean, with the recent events and the things that happen in Canada, with the First Nations, we're digging up grave sites at under residential schools everywhere. Everyone has a chance to kind of look at ourselves, even us as quote unquote Black people, African Americans. There are times where we can be totally insensitive to the struggles of, let's say, the First Nations or some other people. So I think about it. I think about racism. I don't think about it too much. If there was an L, I take it, but I just feel like, I try and be introspective and be better. And however it plays out, plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. And I've seen that like from like firsthand, like I've seen like a lot of stuff from like firsthand experiences, like either from reading a book or from seeing like videos on YouTube or like seeing certain things in real life. So, just actually hours back, I was actually watching this KKK Klans members interview on this
Yeah.
channel called Soft White Underbelly, and he talked about like his disdain for people of color, for like he's for blacks, like Spanish people, Asians, Arabs, and he also talked about how the church, like in his speculation, is ran by like the governments and all that,
Okay.
and how like the Bible, like there were like removed like verses like in that sense too. And
Yeah.
like you had like there's like this weird like feeling like in that sense, like when you watch, because some people have their own perspective of like what they see too. So he
Yeah.
even referenced like the love thy like neighbor like verse, and what he meant is that love thy neighbor of the people affiliated with you, or of the people, like in that sense too. So when
Yeah.
he said that, he meant for white people, like he's not
Yeah.
saying that for love thy neighbor like for everyone,
Oh,
so some people
yeah.
have like various like different perspectives. And
Yeah.
it's actually crazy too, because like you see like how some people like they have like these like limited mindsets of what they like feel. He even mentioned that like he'd rather like travel all around like America than like, because he's from I think North Carolina, and
Okay.
he said he wouldn't travel to any other country because if I'm like in this area, I stay by this area, or I travel to this area. Why do I have to travel to another country where I'm not gonna like the people, or I'm not gonna like those cultures to like in that sense too? And then like just yesterday I was reading, the autobiography of like Malcolm X, and like Malcolm actually talked about, that Muslims, like like the Nation of Islam, like the Muslims have to stick together regardless, to be
Yes.
by the brothers, to never affiliate yourself or set business with a white person in that sense too. And you could tell, like like the Nation of Islam versus like the KKK, they have like a similar mindset when it comes to their people, but different ideals, like in that sense too.
Different
And
ideas.
yeah,
Yes.
and sometimes like that idea, the idea of like separation, it's very like similar, like in that sense too, because for
Of course, but
people.
permit me to interrupt. Permit me to interrupt. Like in the situation of the KKK gentleman, I mean, I don't want to call him a gentleman. If by his theory, if everyone stayed in their country and Christopher Columbus just stayed in his part of the world, I'm pretty sure the Native Americans would be flourishing today. But unfortunately, that's not the way it is. And people will use whatever book to justify hate. Honestly, people will use whatever book to justify hate. But we don't have time for that, man. We're focused on bigger, better.
Yeah, yeah. I know
Yes,
for
sir.
me too, like as far as like my own accounts of like racism or
Yeah.
discrimination, I've noticed like more like I've like more microaggressions, as well as there was like an instance where this one guy like said the N word to me, like maybe like years back, like I think back in 2015. And then some people will say the N word, or some people will say stuff to you, and then either you ignore it, or you test the waters in that sense too. So it kind of depends on your situation too. Like if you
Yeah.
feel like it doesn't affect you, like in that sense too, you can move on. You feel that I'm above like the situation, then you could do that. For
Yeah.
others, they
But if they're
might
getting
be.
saucy, you gotta come on,
Yeah,
man. If they're getting
yeah,
saucy, come on, bro,
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
no doubt.
For sure.
But like I think the only one that I could say that is like one of the craziest microaggressions. So I was actually coming home from work one day. I was working at like uptown Toronto for a bit, and then when I was like heading down to the subway station, I
Hmm.
saw this like middle-aged like Asian woman. Like I think she was born here. She was talking with this like elderly like white woman, like in that sense too. And then when we looked at each other, like when we crossed paths, she was carrying a purse, and she was clutching her purse, like
Clutching a
she
purse.
felt like I was gonna steal something. But actually just wanted to go home because I was wearing like baggy clothes and all that, just like wearing work
Yeah,
attire,
just comfortable. Yeah,
but like
yeah,
when you notice that you're not doing anything to her, when she was relaxed, they would
yeah.
say like sorry, like in
Hmm.
um non-emotional matter, you with no emotion. For me, I just like kind of like roll my like shake my head for a bit too. Like I'm just like, all right, all
Yeah.
right.
And you shake it up because at the end of the day, regardless of color, they're other people, right? I understand on systemic levels, racism can have an impact where you have people getting 20, 30 years for a crime that's 5 years. But as regular people, I don't tend to sweat it so much, only because I understand there's being prejudiced and there's being racist. I believe there's a difference. I mean, in every black household, you hear that, oh man, white people, their food has no taste, or they do this or they do that. I believe each race is allowed to do that, and it's part of being human. You're associating things, but at some point there should be a second thought in your mind where you realize, oh, this guy's just being comfy. He's getting on the bus. He really just wants to. He really. Sorry about the interruption. He really just wants to go home, just like I want to go home too. So at that point, the second thought should kind of like kick in and just kind of set people straight. But yeah, that I feel you though. I feel you on that for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And in that sense too, like I do feel that the federal and provincial governments should take part in acknowledging and stopping racism. I think they've been doing a good job so far.
Yeah.
In your opinion, do you feel the same way that the federal and provincial governments should like acknowledge like the situations that have happened, or if they're like doing a good job to like
To
punish and shame those like offenders or offending groups and all that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna cap, I'm not gonna cap too much. I wouldn't say I follow the news 100%, but I don't like, as a person, I don't like symbolic change, um, putting things in the news to make certain party, a certain political figure look better. I believe in actionable change, right? Now, with, let's say, finding out, a bunch of graves at residential sites, what really happened? We had celebration of days. I like the fact that a lot of people took account, showed solidarity with other, like, with the First Nation people. But as the government, are we looking into the some of the people that propagated the system, the uh, even the people, the preachers, the residential school teachers, and things like that? Did they do that? I don't know. But what I do like is that just the other day we all had to wear like orange in respect to for the many First Nation grave sites at residential schools that we saw. So I do like the fact that the the government promotes an era of like peace between people, and people are taking a look at themselves. But in terms of the government, I can't really say they're doing anything really active to change it. I can't say so, but I might be wrong. I might
Yeah,
be wrong.
yeah, no doubt. I think right now we can get on to like a lighter note now, because like that discussion was like pretty heavy, like in that sense too. So, like with a lot of like families from people with different cultures and backgrounds,
Yeah,
they want their kids to be like in an ideal like field path or career or
yeah,
ideal like momentum for them to be successful. So, being a musician and doing music like here and there, or like even full time depending on your situation. Do you
yeah.
feel that your friends or family have felt that your decision to make music was like a wrong choice or path to take, or did they like encourage you to like keep going to make music, or to don't stop on like what you're doing and all that?
Okay. Very good question. You know, Sometimes people ask me when I started music, and I really can't say. Honestly, I fell in love with music because of a piano teacher I had who was incredible. But ever since, I've never put myself in a box of for a musician or some artist. Ever since a kid, all I know is I've wanted to do big things. I've wanted to impact, be purposeful. So the older I get, the more I see that, okay, I could do this music thing, but I don't want to limit myself to it. I went to school for pharmacology. I currently work at a pharmacy right now, but music is still my love. But in terms of my family and friends, yes, I'd say family supportive. But let me break that down. Mom supportive, very supportive, because a lot of who I am as a music person comes from her. She loves to dance, and for the longest time, that inspired the way I like making music. Even till now, I make music, make songs that make people want to dance. But my dad, not so much. He's an engineer. I believe he wanted me to. He even tells me every now and then, okay, you can do music, but just make sure you're not swearing. It's gospel. And honestly, once I'm on, I'll make a gospel album. But as far as friends in university, I'd say they didn't get it. And sometimes it hurt me. I took it personal because back in our first year, second year, with all freestyle, and I thought like, oh, they'd be on this music journey with me till the end. I will all see it big. But then you realize that everyone doesn't have the same passion and love for you. And once they stop doing these things that have to do music and you continue, they look at you a certain way, especially when you're so dedicated or you're so focused. So a lot of friends didn't get it, but family pretty supportive. So I really can't complain, if you feel me.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I feel like in many situations too, like I do feel like some people who were like bred musicians had those same situations too. Nasty C, who's actually a rapper out of like South Africa, actually, he talked about that when he wanted to take music like full time too, like his father really didn't agree because his father was actually like a doctor, and he wanted his son to actually be successful like in a field that could
Yes.
actually make money. And then so what Nasty C said that, hey, if I make a lot of money, or if I become successful in music within a year or two, then I'm gonna continue on this journey. If not, then I'm gonna continue going to school and all that. And
Yes.
he's like one of the most like successful like musicians like out of like South Africa, like one of the biggest
Yes.
rappers there. He actually has like a song on the Coming to America 2 soundtrack. He's worked with
Woo! Shit.
Lil Keed, Lil Got It, Artie, Lennox, Ti,
Damn.
and a whole lot of like other artists too. And only way is
Yeah.
up, so like some
That's
people,
real.
some people, like, it becomes destined. Others, it might not be as much, and some people, like I've met people like who've had like a good run like making music, and then they stopped for a bit too, because sometimes, like, hey, life happens, life changes too. So
Yeah.
it's all about that purpose of either keep, like, perseverance, keep going, don't stop like until you
Yes.
make it, or if like what's right in that sense too. Like, do you want to like take music seriously? Do you want to go on the next level too? And actually, a fun fact, I actually was like a rapper for a bit too. Like, I wanted to become like a
No
rapper.
way. Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah, like
That's
I had
crazy.
like a mixtape like out on DatPiff too. It didn't like really
Woo!
get like many downloads too, but
Damn.
I love the passion for it. It
Mm.
like I was inspired after doing spoken word at my high school like type thing. So like I was doing like a spoken word piece that actually led me to doing like an actual performance for the school boards, like arts performance in
Yeah.
Toronto. And it got me inspired to actually make music, like write music. And I
Yes.
knew like people throughout the way that were actually making music, and I wanted to work with them too. Sometimes it didn't work out, some like they'll notice here and there too, but I'm kind of glad that it's a good learning experience too. And
Exactly.
like whatever works out for you works out for you. Like maybe music might not be the path. You could be a successful like A&R, or a content
Manager,
creator, a manager, a producer,
writer. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it all depends on like what role you want to play, because not everyone can be like a rapper or a musician and all that. Like it takes time, it takes skills,
And money.
money, exactly.
A whole lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. and
Yeah.
I
I feel you
and
though.
yeah. And with me, I realized, hey, this is kind of more of my passion, like creating content, doing interviews, speaking with people, writing
Mm.
reviews, making videos. And like, hey, I think this is like a better path for me. Like, it led
Yes.
me to other opportunities, and here I am, so.
That's nice. That's I'm happy that I can hear that. Yeah, because sometimes, man, you never know where this thing in life leads you. Like personally, for me, like what we're doing right now, I like it. I could talk about music like all day just because I like it. But yeah, sometimes your pathways just you just have to turn a bit right, and it's just right there, and you found your lane. So yeah, shout out to everybody out there looking and finding it out. We're all doing it at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
For living in like Saskatoon and all that, and like going there, like some people might go there on vacation, or who might do something else. For someone coming to Saskatoon or Saskatchewan for a visit or a trip, like what food places or areas can you recommend someone like visiting for the first time?
Uh, Saskatoon is although a small city in a small province, it's actually a very peaceful place and has brought me a lot of peace. Personally, since I'm like an introvert, I really don't go out much, but there's a Vietnamese place called Thien's, Thienz, and they have all sorts of delicacies, man. You should try it. There's I wouldn't say food spots, but there's a lot of sightseeing in Saskatoon. There's a lot of flat land, a lot of beautiful skies, a lot of lakes. I think places like that, people could check them out. But me personally, you know, personally, I just stay indoors, except I really have something really, really that needs to take me out there. But I'm an introverted extrovert. So yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I think right now, I think with COVID, like I think it has actually sort of stopped for a bit too, in terms of the pandemic, in terms of things like, opening up to maybe not so for Alberta because of the high hospitalization rates, the lack of like I think the ICUs, the lack of ICU technology there, and
Yeah.
the amount of people like in ICUs, and a limited amount for people to do like non-COVID related like appointments.
Procedure, yeah.
Yeah, that's like only for Alberta. I think everywhere else it's like kind of fine right now. But if we take it back all the way to March of last year, where everything was like shut down, like everything just kind of stopped. You know,
Yeah.
and everything just kind of closed down. The only thing that remained like open were like hospitals and like fast food places. But since the pandemic, do you feel that it had like affected the way you tended to proceed with business? And since that time, what were like some changes or tweaks that you had to handle with your business in like a pandemic like the one we had?
Okay. So I would say yes, the pandemic affected everything. I'll even give a personal example. So and nothing that is being said here, everything that's being said here is personal. I'm not by any chance advising or giving people opinions, but I was just scheduled to perform for a show, and we're already in October. A show that was supposed to be in September 1st, but was canceled and moved to October 1st. So unknowingly, by October 1st, you were required to have the shots before you're able to perform on stage. And personally, I didn't know that that law had already been put in. So I wasn't able to perform at the show, which really, really hurt me. So I do think, yes, the pandemic has affected things on a business level, on a personal level too. Business owners are scared. Regular customers are scared. So yes, the pandemic has affected a lot of things, but I think it's also made us a lot more creative. I know a few friends that are having fun working from the house right now, and they're even plotting their retirement from the workplace to the house to a retirement home. So I do think the pandemic, it's introduced new opportunities, but I'd rather it be gone for sure.
Yeah,
Bless it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
For me, like it had like affected me in a certain aspect. Like I did explain this in like other interviews with other people that I've had or other discussions, like
Yeah.
outside of interviews and outside of other like situations. But I actually was doing concert photography, way like earlier on, before the pandemic happened, shot like a variety of shows all around. And then, when the pandemic hit, everything stopped. And it actually led me to a little bit of a depression for a bit to, not
Mhm.
shooting these shows, like not doing like all the things that you wanted to do. Because like if you had like a set plan of like what you wanted to do and it gets like shut down completely sometimes too, you don't like you have to think to yourself like what's next, like what can I do right now. And
Yeah.
I did like minor things that I focused on, to kind of
Just to
catch up.
pass the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like I even had to save up like a lot of money for a bit too. Like in like work wise, like I think I was like pretty fine during the pandemic. Like I've saved up money, paid off some other things going on, and then use that money to save up to buy like equipment, to buy gear, to buy other stuff. And it worked out like in that sense too. And then when I noticed like things started to gradually go back to normal, I just kind of had to continue on like what I did. Like during the pandemic, I made sure that this
Yeah.
platform became bigger and better than ever. Before that,
Mm.
I wasn't really focusing on that. I was just kind of focusing on, hey, what show I'm shooting next, or what thing can I do next to like build up my portfolio, like in other aspects. But when I realized that this was here, TLOY, I had
Hmm.
to like make that bigger, during this time too that we have left. And
Yeah.
it worked out,
Yeah.
like I bought I bought a logo, use that logo for as the main logo for TLOY Talks, for the lens of Yashu, for everything like that, had
Mm.
enough gear to do well like for interviews and for like other recordings and such like that. Like had like some business cards like here and there. paid off for my website, all that type of stuff too. Like I even did this like before the pandemic too with the website and
Nice.
the business cards too. But I felt I did it like I took it up a notch, to make sure that this brand was like worth it, to make sure that people are engaged, and looking
Yeah.
what I have like right now, like it's good so far. Like it may not be as big as like other channels or as other platforms, but
Yeah.
we're here gradually in that sense too.
You're doing your thing, man. You're doing your thing, and it's very much appreciated. It's very much appreciated because you never know. You never know who you talk to that's gonna be somebody tomorrow. So it's appreciated. Like I've been trying to worry less about follower counts and views. It's hard, but I'm trying.
Yeah, yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. I mean, like in terms of like other like musicians and artists, do you feel that the pandemic has like affected the way these artists like handled their business as well?
Oh yeah. Like certain artists went quiet, certain artists stopped posting, certain artists adapted, certain artists started live shows. Even Spotify is allowing like a GoFundMe type system for artists. BET is doing awards that are digital. So yeah, I tend to like kind of learn from I learned a lot from Toby too, because I learned a lot from Toby too, because I see him as a someone who's doing exactly what I want to do and how he handled this business. He's on tour right now. So I see a lot of those things. I just don't want to be those artists that like go quiet for a while. I'm trying to build some consistency. So, we're living and learning and adjusting. And I'm for the last 3 days I've been posting consistently. So I think it's good. I think it's good. Trying new things. So that's amazing, actually.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And there's like two halves to this in that sense too. The ones who didn't really take the pandemic for advantage, and
Yeah.
the others who did, and the others who didn't take that advantage, were still doing the same things or were doing other things to kind of like fumble the bag too for a bit too, because you've had rappers that were charged in RICO cases. You had rappers that had
Yeah.
to resort
Yeah.
to like OnlyFans and other random stuff to make money. You had rappers that were doing like live shows during a pandemic. Like
Yeah.
not even like when it was like the actual normal time for people to get vaccinated.
Even,
Like
even
they
with the
had,
verse,
yeah,
like verses is a thing. It's crazy.
yeah. I think the ones that did take it were for the advantage were the versus ones too, and the people who did like the virtual shows and who did the stay at home type things. I felt like those people had more of a creative edge to it. So like yeah, there's like two different types of people that were affected by the pandemic, like music wise. The ones that didn't, the ones that did, in terms of
That did.
advantage. So
And
yeah,
the record labels who made all the money. I mean,
yeah. I
but
mean,
I was gonna ask you something, bro. And this might be off topic, but what do you think is the state of performing in Toronto now? Are people still performing shows? Are like people still going to shows? Or because here in Saskatoon, it's like, there's a lot of you need to get vaccinated, and there's not a lot of places here to like perform, especially for hip hop acts. So do you think in Toronto right now, are people still performing? Are artists still doing artist things?
in terms of what's going on in Toronto, we've had a few live shows back, like in terms of big promoters and big groups. But
Okay.
in terms of everything else too, like I'd say it's within the 33% like range.
Okay.
Like the 33%, still doing the virtual like live shows, the 33%, with canceled shows, and the 30% with actual live shows coming back. And
Okay.
like I rate this like in a pie, like in that sense too, like with the whole like one third, one third, one third. So like when we talk about the one third with live shows coming back too, like there can only be a certain amount of like live shows coming back,
Okay.
depending on the amount of people who are vaccinated, the guidelines for capacity, for people to be in the venue. And the
Yeah.
only venues that actually benefited from that were actual like big venues. So like
Mm.
the Budweiser stage, Queen Elizabeth Theater, Scotiabank Arena, not for concerts, but mainly for like hockey events, sports events. I know that the
Okay.
Raptors are going to come back later on, and
Okay.
like the Rogers Center, like a lot of people are coming back for Jays games. Like those venues, like they're still making money regardless because the players are coming back. They don't have to go to Tampa Bay or Buffalo or anywhere out there to play. They're
Yeah.
coming back home to play with their fans, like to
Yeah.
play like games for the fans and for everyone like that. I'd say the live shows that did come back to Toronto. We had Maroon 5 actually perform
Nice.
with
Nice.
Black Bear at Budweiser stage. That was actually like the first actual like live show in Canada that actually came back.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Arlo Parks, who was like a musician, like an R&B like singer songwriter or poet. She recently had a show at Queen Elizabeth Theater, and I felt like that was a good show that did happen. We had like local acts that did perform too, that performed at those same venues, like the Arkells,
Mm.
Hawaii Mighty. We had country artists that performed. They had
Yeah.
Chaos that also performed. So those were like kind of like the people that had those live shows back. And then we
Okay.
had the other one for that were canceled shows. So artists were actually supposed to come to Toronto or other parts of
Yeah.
Canada to perform at like certain venues, but
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't because of the COVID-19 guidelines and everything
Yeah.
else going on too, and with vaccination situations too, and so they kind of had to cancel it again or reschedule, and like money was kind of messed up in that sense too, and
Yeah.
because some people like they're on a tour or some people like they're handling other situations too, so we don't know if the stuff would be beneficial. And then if we talk about the other one third, that would be the virtual like live stream events,
Like, yeah.
and that's
I like that.
still there. Like I actually shot, like as I said, I shot my first virtual online show like a while back too, or actually like my first concert a while back too, which was like a virtual online live stream show, the Dad Son concert, and you realize like how the style has changed throughout the ways too.
Yes.
So in terms of like actual like live music coming back too, I would expect it to be normal when guidelines have been like uplifted, with
Okay.
because that's where like most people can perform again. Like you do have people that are performing at like small local events too, but not like in the sense too that they're performing at like a big concert or they're performing at a mid-sized or like a low-sized venue. Like some people or either like performing for free or performing for the community or performing for a small amount because of COVID. So it all depends on how the styling is, because like when they have free events too, you're not selling tickets, so there's no guarantee that you're actually going to get like money
Money
performing.
back.
So like with artists like nowadays too, they need those like ticketed live shows so that they could use the money to like fund within their music, within paying
That.
other people to pay back the label if they are signed to a label, and with
Okay.
everything else too. So that's why like, hey, we gotta get these ticketed like paid shows back. Some are doing it through live stream too, which it's great that they're getting money in that way too, but having actual like ticketed shows at like actual venues where they could sell merch, they could have like money for beer sales, where
Yeah.
they could have people buying like meet and greet like upgrades, like that's what they need in order to fund everything like within their career and within everything else too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Bro, that was such a breakdown. That was such a breakdown that I think that I need to watch that back and even take some of that in. I don't even want to take too long, bro. Bro, if let's talk. I want to ask you something because I'm not there and I just want to learn more about this. So don't take this wrong. I heard Drake has a huge mansion in Toronto, right? And everyone knows where that is. So do you think if I go outside with like a sign that says "Sign me" and I'll just stand there with like my mixtape, do you think like I'll get kicked or thrown in jail or something? Or do rappers even do that anymore these days?
I think for that situation too, you have to also keep in fact too that the mansion that Drake said, it's very like low level like in that sense too. So it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's scarce, but like not a lot of people go in that area too, like unless you're an actual like Drake fan. Because I know like it's a kind of like a low key area. I actually went nearby the mansion one time too, like along like some months back, and
For real?
you know, it was kind of like peaceful, like you know, like they don't have like actual like security like that at the front doors. I think they have it like once they see people come in.
Okay.
Like if you actually like enter in that door, like they'll notice that you know someone's coming in, security like obtrusion and all that. But
Oh, I see.
there was
I see.
actually a situation where one woman actually had to climb up like the border fence like at that area, and she actually broke her ankle and got arrested, you know, and she also had like a knife too and actually attacked one of the guards, you know. Like there's no
Oh,
actual guards, but they have people like posted there to make sure that you know no one like gets through, like in that sense too. They have like more stricter security like when you go into that door, you know. So but
yeah.
I do feel like I'd say there's a 50-50 chance you might see like it could happen, like if you have a sign and your mixtape and then you know you show the sign, like you don't know who's actually going to come by, you know. Drake might come by, see you, but
Yeah.
it all depends, you know. So
Because I do wonder, like, I just heard that Smiley just got signed with OVO, but I do wonder, like, Toronto has like a bunch of rappers. I'm not from there, but I know there's a bunch of rappers, and I kind of wonder, like, oh man, when are these guys ever gonna get signed? But getting signed is not the biggest thing ever. You could do it independent and blow. You could also get signed and do it big too. So I just kind of wonder sometimes. That's all.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, just to end it off for a bit right here, do you have any like any like final words that you would like to say?
Oh, final words, bro. Thank you. First of all, this is one of the first interviews I've done, and like I feel at home. I feel comfortable. To everyone out there, I hope you're fine. I hope you're doing good. I go by the name of Timmy, Oluwa Rotimi. My music is everywhere on all platforms. You can check it out. Love y'all, and that's it for me.
All right.